Hi, in this video, we're going to take a look at the Mono Connect product. Now, the Mono Connect product, in a nutshell, is a product that helps you to retrieve financial data from accounts. So, if your business depends on being able to pull statements of accounts from customers, being able to view their transactions, get identity information through their bank accounts, this is the right product for you. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what the actual flow of this product looks like in practice. We're going to be working with the vanilla JavaScript SDK to see what the implementation looks like end to end and to have a feel of what the flow of this product is for your users. So to get started, you can see here within the images shown, it shows what the flow of the SDK product looks like. So, in a nutshell, it involves a widget that comes up, enabling your customers to pick a bank account, authorizing themselves, and then it enables us to pull account information successfully. All right, so to get started with the Mono Connect product, the first thing that you need to do is you need to sign up on the Mono dashboard by clicking on this link here. So it will take you through some processes where you provide some documentation about your business, and then you are finally set up, and then you have access to your Mono dashboard. The next thing is once you have access to your Mono dashboard, you need to create a Connect application. Next, you need to configure a webhook URL. So let's see what those two steps look like. So I've opened up my Mono dashboard here. As you can see, I have three products here created. So I have a connect product here created as well. But to show you what the flow for connecting a new product, a new app looks like, you click on create an app and then you provide a name here and then you choose your product. In this case, connect, and then you provide the account scope. So this helps you determine what information you intend to pull from the account that you will be linking. Is it identity, statement, transactions? You can decide to pick all the scopes here. Then account type. This is where you choose if the accounts that you are pulling are personal accounts or business accounts. If your use case requires both, you can select them here. And then for the institution scope, this is where you pick the institution you are working with: banking, telco, investment. You can select all institutions, and then the authentication method. This determines the authentication method of the bank account that you intend to link. So are you linking strictly internet banking accounts or mobile banking accounts? So you can also select all, and then you create your application. So the moment you create, an app like this is created. But since I have one already, I wouldn't be creating a new app. So the next step here is you click on the app that you have created. You can see from this button, you can easily toggle between live mode and sandbox mode. For the purpose of this test, we're going to be working with the sandbox environment. So you have your two keys here. You have your test secret key and your test public key. So when you are working with the SDK, your public key is what you actually need. So the next step here is you need to configure a webhook URL. So you do that by clicking on add webhook event and providing the URL. So I'm going to be using this service here for setting up a webhook URL so that I can listen to webhook events. So I would copy this and then I will paste this here and then I'll say test webhook event just to confirm that the setup is working correctly. So add webhook event and let's see. All right, so the test webhook event was sent. So this helps us to confirm that our setup is good to go. So now that we are done with our setup, the next thing we need to do is we need to obtain our SDK. So from the dashboard, from the Mono documentation, you can just come back here to developer tools and click on SDK. So from this page here, you would see that we have different SDKs available. We have the vanilla JavaScript SDK, the React SDK, the Android SDK, the Flutter SDK, React Native, and so on and so forth. So I would be working with the vanilla JavaScript SDK for this setup. So you click here. All right, so this is the repository where we have the vanilla SDK. So you can proceed to clone the repository or download the zip file and open it in your terminal on your laptop. So once you've obtained the SDK, we can proceed to setting it up and seeing what the flow looks like. Have my vanilla JavaScript SDK here, and as you can see, there is a provision for where I'm supposed to provide my public key. So I will be obtaining this from the Mono dashboard. I will copy this and then I will add it here. Remember, if you are working on this and you intend to deploy, it's very important to add this to a .env file so that your key doesn't get exposed on the front end. So that's really what it takes. So let's spin up this and see what it looks like. All right. So this is what the setup looks like. As you can see, it's a very simple setup. Welcome to Mono, which is what we have here. So Mono test. So you can basically style it how you intend to, or style it to suit your use case better. So to initiate this, what customers usually need to do is they need to click on the button exposed to initiate the widget. And the moment the widget opens up, it comes up like this, and then they click on continue. The customer is required to provide consent, and they pick a particular institution, they authorize themselves, and then depending on the button clicked here, success or failure, it simulates that scenario in live mode. So we're going to click on success. And then for the data status, it's important to note that we have three data statuses: available, partial, and unavailable. So a data status of available means that all the required information that you intend to pull from that account is available. A data status of partial means that some of the information that you may need to pull from the account is not available. So maybe transaction is missing, maybe balance is missing, or maybe identity information is missing. So the unavailable status here signifies that no data is available at all. So we have a success rate of well over 90%. So in most cases you are going to get the available status, but in a few instances where you get the partial status, reauthorizing the accounts using the reauthorization API, um, or reauthorizing through the SDK always helps. So I'll click on available and then I'll pick an account, and then I will continue and complete the process. So when you are working with the SDK, the moment a customer completes the flow, we usually return a string on the front end. Now, this string is very important because this is what you use to obtain the account ID that you need to make subsequent calls to fetch financial data. So let me copy this. So let me show you what that looks like from the perspective of the documentation. So from the documentation here, you can see in the SDK implementation process, the first thing required is that you spin up the widget and you provide your keys, and the next step here is you fetch customer account ID. So there's an endpoint we call the token exchange endpoint. So that token exchange endpoint requires that you pass in the code which you got from the front end, and then you would get an account ID in return. So this account ID is what you use to basically set up fetching financial details like transaction of an account and so on and so forth. But it is also important to note that we return two different webhook events, right? We return the account connected webhook event. We also return the account updated webhook event. So this account updated webhook event, it contains this account ID here, which you can use to fetch details. It's also important to note that when you link an account, you need to wait for the account updated webhook events before you can start pulling information from an account. So this is what tells you that data status is available and the account is ready for you to start pulling information from. So, but if you intend to do this via the API to obtain the account ID, you can see from what I showed you here that token exchange endpoint would help with that. So let's take a quick look at what that token exchange endpoint looks like. So you come under connect, you look for the exchange API, and this is it. So it's a post request. It takes in the code here as a string and it returns to you the account ID. So now that we have already obtained our code from the front end, the next step now is for us to use that code to obtain the account ID using the token exchange endpoint. So I would click on the body and then I'll change this for the code obtained. And I already have my secret key here, which is very essential for the request. And then I'll make the API call. So this is the account ID that I will now use to make subsequent calls. So if you notice, the account ID here returned ends with 261 from the token exchange endpoint. So let's take a look at our web here. You see it also ends with 261. So the same account ID is returned through webhook events as well as through the token exchange endpoint. So let's copy this and let's try making a call to the transaction endpoint. So the transaction endpoint is a GET request that takes in the account ID. So this will help us to fetch transactions from that particular account. So I would make the request, and as you can see, we've been able to pull account in transaction information successfully. So this is what the flow looks like in a nutshell. Thank you for watching. Bye.